Hello everyone and welcome back to Watchwell, and today we are going to be looking at how to calibrate the Citizen Promaster Altichron. So welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you are all well. So back in April of 2023, I made a video about the Citizen Promaster Altichron, calling it the ultimate hiker's watch. And today we are going to look at how to calibrate the altimeter and the compass function on this watch. We're going to start with the altimeter. For anyone that doesn't know, an altimeter measures how far above or below sea level you are. So how it works on the Citizen is you need to press the lower left button here, and that will indicate the altitude. So the power reserve hand here at the 9 o'clock subdial, this will tell you how high up you are in terms of tens of thousands of feet. So if it goes between, if it's at the 1, you're at 10,000 feet. If it's at the 2, you're at 20,000. And if it goes to the 3, you're at 30,000 feet. So at the moment, it's indicating the power reserve, but once I press this button, it will switch to the function of the altimeter. Then you have this smaller red hand here. This is actually for the compass, but it also provides a function for the altimeter. So I'm just going to move the hours out of the way so that we can see this, the hour and minute hand. But anyway, so the small red hand will use this little red scale here, which goes from 1,000 to 10,000 feet down here. So if you're in that range, this hand will come into play. And if you are below, or say from 0 to 1,000 feet, it will use the red hand here, and it will use the bigger red hand, and it will use the scale going around here to tell you roughly where you are. So for instance, if you press the altimeter function and the small hand, let's say it's at 2,000 here on the red line, and the big hand is at 400, that would indicate that you are 2,400 feet above sea level. The altimeter can also measure down to minus 1,000 feet. That uses the larger red hand again, and it would use the outer ring here. So if we look closely on the markings, you can see there minus 100, minus 200, minus 300, and so on. So the hand, if you were below sea level, would actually go anti-clockwise, and would use those markings to tell you how far below sea level you are, down to 1,000 feet. So to calibrate the altimeter, you need to know the altitude from another source, and for this I'm going to use my Garmin Tactix 7 Pro, which I have on my wrist at the moment, and this is telling us that we are 401 feet above sea level. So if we press the altimeter function here, you'll notice the first thing it will do is the power reserve hand will go down to 0, and the larger hand will move around the watch, and it's going all the way. So it is telling us that we are around 950 feet above sea level. Now that means the watch is not calibrated at the moment. I know it's not calibrated because I know we're not that high up above sea level. So to change this, what we need to do is we need to make sure that the altimeter button first and foremost is has been functioned. What we are now going to do is we need to set it ourselves. So, oh, you've got to be kidding me. So the watch is saying we are at 950 feet. And we know from my Garmin that we are actually at around 400 feet. So how we're going to change this is, once it has reached the altitude, when you press the function on the watch, we are going to hold the same button down for roughly 3 seconds until the power reserve hand moves over. I actually need to move the minute hand out of the way again. So the power reserve hand has now, I think that's actually re-engaged the watch. Okay, by pushing the crown back in. So we're going to press the altimeter function again, get our altitude reading. Once it sets it at the altitude reading, we're going to hold this button down for 3 seconds, and that power reserve hand will move over to the plus and minus sign that you see there on the subdial. So basically what this means is if the altitude you want to set is higher than the altitude it's displaying on the watch, then you leave it at the plus button. However, if the altitude is lower than what it is saying on the watch, in which in our case it is, we need to press this and move it over to the minus side. So there we have it at the minus. If you keep pressing it, it'll keep switching between the two until you're at the one you want to set. So we're at the minus one. Then what we need to do is to press the top left button. So now you see the hand is going backwards. That's because it's set to minus. And we basically need to keep pressing it until it gets all the way to 400 feet, which is just there at around the 5 o'clock mark. So here we go, nearly there. So we're there, we are at 400 feet. Once we have that done, we press the button again, the lower left button, for 3 more seconds to set that altitude. There we go, and you notice the power reserve hand has gone back to 0, and then we press it again to reset it back to where it was, back to the time function. So we're going to try it out, we're going to press it again, and hopefully this should take us straight to 400 feet once it engages the function. So our power reserve hand will go back to 0, and the big hand should stop at 400 if we've done this correctly. There we go. So that is how you calibrate the altitude on your Citizen Promaster Altichron. So I'm just going to press it again to move it back to the time function. So now we are going to move on to the compass, and we can engage the compass function by pressing the top left button here, and the small red hand on the watch will move to face north. And for this video, we will be setting the watch to magnetic north, not true north. So you will need a flat surface to calibrate the watch, and for it to work properly, it is best not to have any magnetic interference. Now that's probably not going to work the best for me because I have, my watch here, my laptop, my phone, and so on. So if you're trying to calibrate this properly, you're best off doing it outside, away from any magnetic interference, such as phones and laptops and other electronic devices. But anyway, to calibrate the compass, so we need a flat surface. So I'm going to put the watch down here. I'm going to zoom in to get a better view of it. So we need to press the top left button on the watch. Then once the hand moves to face north, we press and hold that top left button again for 3 seconds until the compass hand moves to 3 o'clock. So we're going to press that here. You see now the small hand will start to move. So it's telling us that north is this way, back towards me here, towards 6 o'clock. Now we're going to hold that for 3 seconds. And yet the hand moves to 3 o'clock. Once it moves to 3 o'clock, we're going to press the lower left button, and the watch will take a reading of the environment that it's in at the moment, and the compass hand will move to the 9 o'clock position once it's taken that reading. So there we go, it moves all the way over to 9 o'clock. Once it does that, we now have to rotate the watch 180 degrees. So we're going to do that now. And then we're going to press the lower left button again, and the watch will take its second reading and should move all the way back to 12 o'clock. Once it's taken that reading, it moves to 12 o'clock. If it moves to 3 o'clock and stops there, that means the reading has failed, and you just have to start this process over again. If the compass hand returns to 12 o'clock as it is, that means it has done it correctly, and we just press the button again to finish that procedure. What this does then is it moves it moves it back to the time function. So hopefully now this should be calibrated. We're going to press it again. Now this, like I said, this may or may not be very accurate because of, you know, the interference that I've got here. So it has moved a little bit. It was saying north was kind of back this way. It's moved ever so slightly closer to the 5 o'clock. But that is how you calibrate the compass function on the watch. But again, it will work better if you are outside with a flat surface and less magnetic interference. So that is how you calibrate the watch. I have said in the past that this is the best hiker's watch, and someone actually said in the comments in that video that, oh, have you ever heard of Garmin? And of course I had heard of Garmin. I do have a Tactic 7 Pro on me here, and this is the watch I wear most often. But in terms of, if you were looking for a hiking watch, an analog hiking watch, not a digital one, then I still maintain this is the best hiker's watch to have. So there you go, guys. That is how you calibrate the watch. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please do hit that subscribe button. It really does help out the channel a lot. And I will see you in the next one. Until then, take care for now, guys.